Hey everybody, in this video, I'm going to be talking about You Like It Darker, the new 2024 collection from Stephen King. I just finished the collection the other day, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Several of the people that I've seen talk about it online have said that they found it very underwhelming, that they didn't really care for it. I liked it a lot. Anyway, in this video, I'm going to be rating, not ranking, but rating all 12 stories in the collection. So the collection starts with a 60-page story called Two Talented Bastids. And I liked the mysterious elements of this. I liked the suspense. I liked the sort of sci-fi aspects of it. I liked the way that Stephen King built sort of foreshadowing as to what the big twist, the big reveal would be in the story. And I felt like when the big twist and the big reveal actually came, it was very satisfying. I thought it got the collection off on the right foot, and I liked it quite a lot. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I rate Two Talented Bastids as an 8. I do have a tendency to have a bias toward longer fiction that can build a world and kind of leave a more lasting impression than incredibly short fiction. Although there's nothing wrong with short fiction. I think at best they have an idea, almost like a punchline, just one concept that they're trying to get across, and almost like a stab, so to speak, no pun intended, and then it's over. You're in, you're out. One scene, usually just a few characters, and the collection You Like It Darker has a few very short pieces. The Fifth Step is the second piece in the collection, and it is 10 pages, and it is sort of a dark and twisted take on the steps of the Alcoholics Anonymous program, and it did manage to build suspense and foreshadowing, and like the character on the bench, the man just minding his own business, I did find myself sort of drawn in to see where everything was going. And the ending was not incredibly unforeseen, but it was still like a stab, a jarring kind of like splash of cold water, and then the story was over. So it makes an impression. It doesn't necessarily last in the memory the way longer pieces do to me, but I liked it, and I would give The Fifth Step 7 out of 10. Willie the Weirdo is the third piece in the collection, and it's another short one, only 12 pages, and it's creepy. It's definitely creepy and atmospheric, and it's sort of a slow build, and then unlike The Fifth Step, which has like a slap in the face as the climax of the story, Willie the Weirdo is a little bit more subtle, but more unsettling as well. And it did kind of stick in my memory. When it first ended, I thought, what was that? What did I just read? What the heck happened? And then when I thought about it, now I see. Although I liked it a lot, I didn't feel it was maybe a little too subtle for its own good. So I'm going to give Willie the Weirdo 6 out of 10. Nothing wrong with it, but it just doesn't linger in the memory. The fourth piece in the collection is the longest piece in the collection, comes in at around 150 pages, and it's called Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream. Now, this is a story about sort of mistaken identity, I guess, circumstance, fate, psychic phenomena, and just an absolutely relentless, I mean, dementedly so, police officer who just absolutely refuses to give up on a very, very inexplicable case. So Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream, I would go so far as to say that it may be the best piece of fiction that Stephen King has released so far in the 2020s. The collection, If It Bleeds, had some really strong pieces, but overall, I would say that the collections have far outpaced or far outshone the novels so far in 2020. And Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream stands shoulder to shoulder with Stephen King's best short fiction, novella length fiction over the course of his entire career. I was completely captivated. I was not able to walk away from the book. I had to keep coming back to it and listening to the audiobook, which I was listening to. And it held me enthralled, which is something that hasn't happened with any author, even Stephen King, with me for a long time. So I give Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream 10 out of 10. Epic, really haunting, harrowing, powerful stuff, and it is top tier Stephen King. 10 out of 10. The fifth piece in the collection is another shorter piece called Finn, which comes in at 22 pages long. It's another very, very classic kind of cut and dry case of mistaken identity. And you're just pulled into this world along with this character who's experiencing all of these horrible things, obviously that are meant for somebody else, but he can't convince anybody to listen to him and believe what he says about who he is. Turns out in the end, he's been involved in some kind of bigger conspiracy, perhaps something military in nature, and he's come in right at the tail end as the entire endeavor is falling apart. And through almost like a fluke of circumstance, he was pulled in the first place, and through another fluke of circumstance, he is able to escape. He is returned to his normal life. I didn't know where the story was going, but I didn't expect it to go where it did, and I respected it a lot for that. It was unsettling, it was disturbing, and it was full of twists and turns, and to me, full of some really welcome surprises. So I give Finn 7 out of 10. The sixth piece in the collection is called On Slide In Road, and it's another shorter one, comes in at 20 pages. And at the end of Slide In Road, at the end of several of the stories in the collection, Stephen King says thinking of. So like he was creating homages to certain authors that he really enjoys and appreciates. And On Slide In Road is dedicated or thinking of Flannery O'Connor. And that's revealed at the very end after the story has finished, and it makes perfect sense. And when I think back on the story, it is of the shorter pieces in the collection, it may be my favorite. I enjoyed the world that it created. It was kind of old timey. It was kind of creepy, kind of mysterious. There's just the horror, the suspense builds, but then the horror just slides in just so matter of factly. I thought it was chilling. I thought that it was brilliant. And even in 20 pages, Stephen King's able to reveal some truths about family dynamics, which I thought was really interesting. I think On Slide In Road is a very well put together, well-rounded, and whole piece of work, even at 20 pages. So I give it an 8 out of 10. Red Screen is another incredibly short piece. It comes in at 10 pages, and it's kind of like The Fifth Step. It builds towards a punchline, and perhaps more than any other story in the collection, the punchline of Red Screen really, to me, comes across like a punchline. Like it's a joke maybe that you don't realize is a joke, and then the punchline hits, and just like, oh, okay, okay, that's what this was about. Okay, I thought the story was interesting. I thought the punchline. I'm just going to keep calling it the punchline because it really did almost seem like it was supposed to be funny to me, although it wasn't really. Kind of fell flat. It is one of my least favorite pieces in the collection. Still nothing wrong with the way it was written. It was entertaining enough just in the grand scheme of things. When it was all said and done, I was just like, huh, it just kind of left me a little flat. So I'm going to give Red Screen 5 out of 10. The Turbulence Expert was a really, really interesting idea. And Stephen King has gone on the record multiple times that he's a white knuckle flyer. He doesn't enjoy flying. And the Turbulence Expert, I think, reveals something very, very deep and probably personal about Stephen King's own feelings about flying. It's really thought-provoking and interesting idea, an interesting concept, and has a bit of fantasy, a little bit of Twilight Zone overtones to it, which I really enjoyed. And then the twist, as it were, at the end is not really a twist. It's pretty obvious. It's kind of forecast, even though, let's see, even though the story is 14 pages long, so it doesn't have a lot of real estate to operate in. The ending was fine. It didn't give me a chill. You know, some of the really short, the ones that like zing at you, give you a bit of a chill, especially when you can't see the ending coming. Turbulence Expert, I feel like I could see the ending coming, and there's nothing wrong with that. It was still a satisfying story, a satisfying experience. But I give the Turbulence Expert 6 out of 10. And then we come to Laurie. Laurie is around 24 pages long, and it's about an elderly man who lives alone and whose concerned sister gets him a puppy, something to take care of, something to kind of get him out of his own thought process. And it is, so the collection is titled You Like It Darker, right? And I would say on the whole that all of the stories in the collection do skew darker. If not absolutely like horrific or grisly or gory, they do deal with dark and disturbing themes. Laurie, in that context, comes across like some sort of pink marshmallow hair bow. I don't quite know what to make of it. I mean, You Like It Darker. The darkest that Laurie gets is that Laurie is almost, although not exactly, not quite, but almost could have been in the path of an alligator, and could have maybe perhaps gotten bitten or killed by the alligator. And that's about as dark as it gets. And Laurie, I thought was fine. Laurie, I also thought was a little on the tedious side, and it is my least favorite piece in the entire collection. I give Laurie 4 out of 10. The 10th piece in the collection is definitely another highlight for me, and that is Rattlesnakes. So Rattlesnakes manages the interesting feat of being both in around 90 pages, manages to be both a sequel to Cujo and a sequel to Duma Key, which were two Stephen King novels that I had never thought of in the same context, the same anything. But I really like the way that Rattlesnakes kind of brings both novels full circle and provides some resolution. I thought that was really interesting. I've spoken before about my feelings about Cujo. Just devastating, especially now being a father. It was just absolutely heart-wrenching. But I admit I was a little hesitant about Rattlesnakes, but it was very satisfying and very rewarding to catch up with Vic Trenton in real time over 40 years after the events of Cujo, just as in the real world over 40 years have passed. So you find out what happened to Donna. You find out what happened to his career. You find out what happened to their marriage after the unthinkable tragedy. One of the things that I always thought rang a little false, or maybe was a little too tidy about Cujo, was that Vic and Donna just kind of clear out Tad's room. They donate everything to the Goodwill, and then they seem to just get on with their lives. And I just still can't imagine how that would even be possible. And Rattlesnakes provides some much needed context and kind of fleshes out the what happened next in I thought a very satisfying and fulfilling way. There was aspects of it very much reminded me of Duma Key, because obviously it's set in the same area, but there's also haunting. There's haunting elements and ghost elements and unsettled spirits. And I really found the experience of Rattlesnakes to be quite emotional. I got choked up at a few places. I don't know if it's not it's not the best. It's not my favorite piece in the collection, but it just hits like a ton of bricks, I think, because of the resonance that the original novels already have with me. Maybe that makes me a little bit biased, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm wrong. I would give Rattlesnakes another 10 out of 10, perhaps 9 out of 10, but I'm just going to go all in with this one, 10 out of 10. I really, so far, all of the examples of Stephen King going back and revisiting his earlier works and catching up with characters from decades ago. Dr. Sleep is probably the prime example. Have been very fulfilling, very rewarding, and very enjoyable. So I'm glad he wrote Rattlesnakes. I'm glad I finally got to read it, and I really liked it. So 10 out of 10. The Dreamers, to me, is one of the scarier pieces in the collection. It's the next to the last, and it definitely had some kind of like Frankenstein vibes, some EC horror comics vibes, and I thought that it was an interesting concept. And I've also been very interested in dreams and why we dream and what dreams represent and the ability to control dreams, to like lucid dream. And so the Dreamers really checked some boxes for me, just in terms of plot and just in terms of the content of the story. And I found it to be very creepy. I found it to be very disturbing, and definitely one of the stronger of the shorter pieces. This one comes in at, let's see, 34 pages, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I give the Dreamers 8 out of 10. And then finally we come to The Answer Man. And in all the things that I had read, I tried not to read too much about You Like It Darker, but I was seeing some things, some reviews, Wikipedia, Goodreads, stuff like that, and so many people were saying that The Answer Man may be one of Stephen King's very best pieces of that he's ever written. And so I was filled with anticipation. I was also filled with some dread, because so far in the collection, the things like people have said, it doesn't really hit. It's pretty mediocre. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I fully expected that the story that everyone was saying is the standout, unqualified masterpiece of the collection, I probably wouldn't like all that much. And I have to admit, I mean, as a concept, there's a fantasy to it that is pretty delicious and pretty enticing. And the idea, but I don't know, it was like it had the one concept, and it was compelling, the idea that the Answer Man continues to visit the main character at different points in his life and provide some, I don't know, I don't want to give too much of it away. I'm really bad about the spoilers, but I will just say I felt like it had a single note that it was playing over and over. And while it was enticing, while it was exciting, while it was alluring, all of these things, The Answer Man did not just really stand out to me as one of Stephen King's all-time best. It did not stand out to me as the best in this collection, even. So ultimately, at the end, I thought that The Answer Man was a good story. I thought it was a really interesting idea, well executed. There was nothing wrong with that, but it just didn't rock my socks the way it seemed to for other people. So I'm going to give The Answer Man 7 out of 10. So like I said earlier, in the 2020s, the short fiction, to me, the collections have far outshone the novels. By my count, there have been 2 collections, If It Bleeds and You Like It Darker, and there have been 4 novels. That's later Billy Summers' Fairy Tale and Holly. The novels have me a little worried about Stephen King's future and his writing. It hasn't been his strongest period. And he's been around, he's been doing this for so long that he has whole stretches that are up and whole stretches that are kind of down. So he's just in a lull lately. But the true standouts, honestly, have been these 2 collections. And you could take Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream out of You Like It Darker, and you could have stuck it in If It Bleeds, and it would have fit right in, would have been at the same caliber. Rattlesnakes as well. There's the standout pieces in You Like It Darker truly stand amongst the best short fiction of Stephen King's career. And the longer pieces, particularly Danny Coughlin and Rattlesnakes, I think Rattlesnakes maybe gets a little bit of perhaps unfair extra credit just because of the connection to a couple of previous beloved works. Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream is like right up there, some of the best, one of the best novellas of Stephen King's career, and that's including classics like you find in different seasons or other collections. Truly, truly exceptional work. And I honestly would be fine if Stephen King released another collection or 2 in the 2020s, because it feels like the short fiction has just been hitting in a different way than the novels. But who knows? Who knows? He's out there writing. He probably has at least 1 or 2 novels in the pipeline that are slated to be published that we haven't even heard about yet. The fact that it's June now, but it was May when the collection was released. Hopefully this will be a year where we get 2 Stephen King titles. I'm ever a constant reader. I will always look forward to it, and I will always read everything that he publishes. But long story, a little bit longer. You Like It Darker. Thoroughly enjoyed the collection. Overall, cumulatively, I thought it was really good. This stands in contrast to what I've seen a lot of people kind of bellyaching, that with a few standout exceptions, Danny Coughlin usually is mentioned as the standout piece, or at least one of the standout pieces, that the other pieces were mediocre at best, and some people just were kind of cold on the collection. Overall, I only gave 1 story less than a 50% ranking. Most of them were 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s. So on the balance, I thought that this was a really solid collection. But I am very curious to know your thoughts on You Like It Darker. How does it stack up? Is it good? Is it good Stephen King for 2024? Is it good Stephen King overall for his whole career? What was your favorite story? What was your least favorite story? Let me know what you think. Please put your thoughts in the comments. And that's it for me for this video. As always, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Every day we tick a little bit closer to 1,000 subscribers, which is amazing, beyond my wildest dreams when I first started sitting here in my cluttered office and just rambling on and on about Stephen King. Never thought it would take off the way it has, but it's all thanks to you. I appreciate you, and wherever you are, I hope you take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you later. Bye.